This is Kate the Artist, and I'd love to share a story about strength. My parents were both still in high school when they had me, and though I lived with my mother growing up, I consider my grandparents as the ones who've raised me. I was born with a congenital condition that went undiagnosed at birth. My mother had complained multiple times to my pediatrician about leg discrepancy and limping that she had noticed while I was learning how to walk. However, the doctor said I was within normal limits.
Thank you. Get some more?
By age 3, I had adapted to walking on a totally dislocated hip. This, though, became a catalyst for a life's journey that revives something so much more than strength.
What are you doing?
At 3.5 years old, I met a different pediatrician whom discovered the dislocation through X-ray. Within 10 days of that, I took my first trip to Boston Children's Hospital. There, I was diagnosed with left hip developmental dysplasia of infancy, now completely dislocated. My childhood consisted of many surgeries, in which, after each one, I was placed in a body cast to heal for a few month intervals at a time. During this challenging childhood, the strength of my grandmother's support cultivated an inspiring bond, and my grandmother became my best friend. She is always there for me through everything, including the greater challenges that were still ahead. The deep strength that sleeps can be awakened through the initiation of a great challenge. This is because the strength you need is already within you. When I was 6 years old, I had a severe reaction to the anesthesia during one of my surgeries. This left me in a 22-day coma. My kidneys and liver had failed. I had 3 blood transfusions, and life expectancy was expected to be short. But miraculously, the day came when I opened my eyes. The cause of my awakening is unknown, and many of the doctors and nurses on my care team said it was an unexplained miracle. After each surgery, I would learn how to walk again, and I have learned how to walk again many times. In addition to wonderful physical therapists, I've also had a great teacher. My grandfather's legs were paralyzed, and he had amazing upper body strength. Of the valuable things he taught me, he also showed me many maneuvers when it came to problem-solving mobility. At age 13, I had what I thought would be my last surgery. The doctors gave me confidence in that I should not have any issues with mobility until old age. in which they said I may require a hip replacement. Throughout the years, it has not been easy finding doctors who knew how to help and who were also willing to help. And I'm very grateful to find such kind ones that did. I've experienced many doctors who've said they couldn't help me and didn't know of anyone who could. For example, when I was 16, I once met a doctor who told me I had been dealt a shitty hand of cards. And for a long time, I believed that. From my perspective now, though, this is far from so. I never could quite walk right, and by the time I reached early adulthood, the cartilage protecting my left hip joint from grinding against the hip bone was diminishing. My left hip was replaced when I was 26. After my hip was replaced, it felt like I had a whole new life. With physical limitations lifted, my new range of mobility felt astonishing. I had never felt what it was like to have two normal legs, and I imagined this was close to it. This lasted just over a year though, and in 2015, my femur stress fractured around the hip replacement. The fracture was on such a micro scale that an average X-ray could not detect it, even though my pain radar had. It felt like my femur was a toothpick, and the toothpick was splintering from being twisted at both ends in different directions, especially when I put pressure on it or moved the wrong way. Nearly another year would pass before I received a scan that finally showed my doctors the stress fracture. I had a picture now to the pain I had been describing. It would still take a bit more time, though, to come up with a plan of action, in between which daily life became a greater challenge. I was incredibly excited when I finally received a plan of action a year later, and in 2016, I proceeded with having a permanent metal rod with screws added to my femur. Of course, I was fully aware that the surgery may not guarantee the desired results, but all thoughts about walking again overrode my concerns. A couple of months passed after surgery, and there had been no sign of the fracture healing, though I was able to walk until a screw broke. A few more screws were added to sturdy the rod, but I struggled more after that surgery. Then, in 2018, another procedure was done in which an additional rod was added so that the entire length of the femur was protected. But the result of that surgery differed far from the result we had theorized. This is most likely due to numerous factors, like my hip and femur never developed properly or healed fully from the trauma it's been through since birth. No matter the reason, the experience provided a spark that ignited so much more than deep strength. Growing up, I had always compensated for my left hip by shifting the weight of my body and favoring the right side, but living life completely on one leg was a different obstacle. During my last few surgeries, I went through a period of intense uncertainty. I allowed fear to grip me and thought that for the rest of my life I would be immobile, in pain, and depressed. It seemed like I was slowly losing the strength and capability to perform daily life tasks, along with all the other activities I loved so much. I was building a resentment towards my body and saw it affecting and reflecting in everything around me. However, I still had not reached my breaking point, and it's incredible what can happen at a breaking point. Trying to keep up with the things I used to do on two legs had a harsh impact on my pride. After a couple years, the battle with both physical and mental balance was depressing and depleting me. I was simply too proud to let go and admit that I wasn't physically capable or as strong as I once was. The thought of things naturally getting worse as I aged terrified me. I felt like I had been robbed of my prime years. Feeling deprived and ashamed, I did an out-of-character thing. I asked for help. Not to anyone or anything specific, just out loud in a private moment of despair at my breaking point. Nothing immediate happened, but later I realized that that moment was a turning point in my life. For the first time, I had asked for help within rather than looking for it on the outside. This initiated a process that opened profound room for so many surprises, including following a passion to paint. Over 20 surgeries between the ages of 3 to 13, in addition to a hip replacement at 26, and a few more surgeries since then, has been a test to my strength. This test, like the many we all go through on the journey of life, comes with the rewards of reviving deeper levels within the self. Through my experience, I've come to the perspective that what we think we know about the human body is just a small drop in what seems like a vast ocean. We create an imbalance by often putting far too much demand on doctors, technology, and material, and not enough upon and within ourselves. I still cannot use my left leg for its intended purpose. Instead, I use it like a tail to accomplish tasks on one leg. Pain holds its many lessons, like how it reminds me that the body works as a whole, and how one part of the body affects the whole, just as each human affects humanity. Good morning, pretty blue jay. You here for a peanut? Here you go. Pretty blue jay. Inspired by the works of so many great masters in art history, I now had the time and the will to create a masterwork of my own. When I was in high school, I was introduced to both George Stubbs' Horse Devoured by Lion and Henry Fuseli's Nightmare, and these paintings left an impression on me that greatly inspired the imagery behind the first two masterworks. I didn't understand the inspiration at the time. I just let go and went with the flow. Before long, painting remarkably grew into something more. It blossomed into my life's work and matured into functional art that, like puzzle pieces, connect and serve a united purpose. The Masterwork series is a visual interactive guide into the deeper levels within the self. It's in these subtle layers where foundational healing, transformation, and empowerment can take place. It can take anywhere from a couple months to a couple years to complete a work. In this work, Balanced, due to the integration of all the archetypes from the previous works in the series, Balanced is taking the longest at 2 years and still going. Balance is behind the foundation of everything. If this has gone unnoticed, then it becomes clear when working within. The series has been one of my greatest guides. It's taught me that the integration of all that you are, including the painful parts, is the process of becoming balanced and discovering the self's sweet secret. Are you ready and willing to explore your mind and so much more? The Masterwork series is designed to help guide through what still remains secret. There is much more awaiting on the journey within than the things we don't want to face. Things like deep strength, and compassion, life-changing things. You will be surprised how strong you really are. And that's a part of what I like to call the self's sweet secret.